the GE engines, which were supposed to be given. Now suddenly they are not coming, and the Tejas project is delayed because the airframes are ready and everything is ready, but there are no engines. And America promised engines. So these are the hooks that America will use to sort of arm twist. My question is regarding Quad, sir. Now, for a very long time, India has resisted the weaponizing of Quad. So you have the AUKUS also coming up in another manner, of which India is not a part, but India is certainly a very important part. The reason why I'm saying this, though, very recently we had the Malabar exercises, sir, in which all the 4 countries, so they were there, their special forces were there, the naval special forces, and their destroyers were there, and all the ships were there. So what Joe Biden has done is he has raised the level of Quad to say that heads of state. Earlier it was at the ministerial level, now they're saying heads of state. That is Joe Biden's doing. Big contribution, sir. Now India is resisting this quote-unquote weaponization of Quad. Because once you are in a treaty format like NATO, then if America is attacked, let us say in Taiwan, sir, then India will, per se have to go into battle for the sake of... No, India is pushing back against it. Then why have Quad, sir, if you're not weaponizing it? What good is Quad? Not vaccines. Vaccines you can give. India's been talking about vaccines and Quad. We don't need the Quad to deliver vaccines, sir. Without Quad, we delivered vaccines throughout the world, sir, when COVID happened. So why Quad?
Okay, so, as far as vaccines are concerned, you're very right. I think even without the Quad, we delivered more than 300 million doses to more than 100 countries.
Sure.
And even medical supplies to more than 150 countries. So,
sure.
You don't need the Quad for that. Although the Quad did say that, we'll have how many? 2 billion vaccines, which India will manufacture with funding from Japan and US, and will be distributed through the distribution network of Australia. So, I don't know how many of them went. But I think basically it does have, it might not be weaponizing, Gaurav, but I think it has some security elements. You look at the marine domain awareness, and that I think does give confidence to a number of these countries, going against illegal fishing, at which the Chinese are there in a big way. The point I would like to make to you is that if when the Quad was revived in November 2017, Wang Yi was still the foreign minister of China. And what did he say about Quad? It is like a bubble. It is like a froth on the surface of the ocean. It is going to disappear without a trace. What do they say now? That it is an Asian NATO. So it has the Chinese worried. Why do they always comment upon, what the decisions are? And I think in terms of, this is something that we can, it's a step-by-step approach. You are very right that from 2017 till 2020, 3 years, there were only 2 meetings, even at the level of the foreign ministers. 2019 on the sidelines of the UNGA, and 2020 in October in Tokyo, when Mike Pompeo had gone from travel, and those were the real height of the pandemic. So, all the foreign ministers, Dr. Jaishankar, he went from here, and Australian Marisa Payne had come from there, and of course in Japan, the foreign minister. The point I'm making is all these had to make a lot of effort. Now, when Biden came in 2021, January 21, the first summit in February 21, that was a virtual summit. The first in-person summit, September in Washington, D.C. Then successively in Tokyo and in Hiroshima. And one, of course, happening immediately after the Russian attack on Ukraine.
So please allow me to interrupt you, sir.
Sir.
Kyun kara Biden ne aisa?
I think basically he was also wanting to take forward the same national security strategy that had come during the time of Donald Trump, that they have now identified. Because before that, there was no identification. It was only, I think full credit must be given to Donald Trump that he identified China as the real threat. You would recall that when Xi Jinping had gone to Washington, D.C. in 2015 and he met Barack Obama, he told Barack Obama that there is going to be no militarization of the South China Sea. And the Americans and none of the others were willing to hold China to its word because they merrily went around both militarizing the South China Sea, also creating artificial islands and militarizing those. No one was able to, because they wanted China's cooperation in the climate change aspects, climate change issues. So they were not really willing to push back against. It was Donald Trump who came, who identified in the national security strategy of 2017 that China is the systemic threat as far as US is concerned, as far as the global order is concerned. And whatever you might say, Biden has bought into that narrative and has taken it forward. And he also realizes, basically, before that, foreign ministers might have met. The first meeting, virtual meeting of the Quad, there was no leaders' declaration. Everyone was issuing their own statements. And no one was mentioning China. Now, September, what was the vision of the future? That is the Quad statement that came out. And China is identified, well, not by name, but, when you mention that it should be a free and open Indo-Pacific, free, open, inclusive Indo-Pacific. Rules-based international order.
Sure.
And, even when Prime Minister goes for the East Asia Summit, as he was in Lao PDR just now, he mentioned about Quad, that the Quad has a similarity with the ASEAN outlook for the Indo-Pacific. When he went to Singapore before that, in the joint statement, please have a look, Gaurav, there is reference to Quad. So the point is that India is also projecting on the Quad, and what the Prime Minister has said, that it is a force for global good. And so all the elements that are included in that, whether it is infrastructure, marine domain awareness, I have said, HADR, humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, education, health care. So these are all instruments to wean away the members, the countries in the ASEAN region, away from the clutches of, the strong control that China has in that region. Because you've seen now, Philippines has started under the new president. It has started pushing back against China. We have supplied BrahMos worth $286 million to Philippines. There might be others also, whether it is Vietnam, meaning we've been talking, but I think it will give them greater confidence and greater strength, if the Quad is present there. We have, of course, the military element, the security element in the Malabar exercises. So I am certain, I'm quite convinced that we have told the other Quad members we are not going to convert it into a military platform or a military grouping as such. And that is what we have been telling, that we don't agree that this is an Asian NATO. You would have seen the new Japanese Prime Minister, who said that he wants to convert, make Quad into an Asian NATO. And immediately the rebuttal came from Dr. Jaishankar, that we don't agree with this. We don't think it's an Asian NATO. It has, as the Prime Minister has said, it's a force for global good. So I think it is a way to reach out, because the last word on this, what I would like to mention is that in the past, 20 years ago, the United States was the major trading and investment partner of Southeast Asian countries. It was also the major security provider.
Sure.
It has alliances with Japan, with Taiwan, with Philippines, with South Korea, with Australia. So it is an ally partner of all these countries. But today the situation is that most of the investment and most of the trade is coming from China. Security is still being provided by the United States. And these countries do not wish to take sides. They don't want to, decide that we are with the United States on one issue, with China on the other issue. They are happy as the situation is, that there should be peace and tranquility in the region. And I think that is the message that we seek to give through the Quad, that We are not here to, the Quad is not here to, these countries are not here to militarize the region, but basically take actions which is for the benefit, for the advantage, for the development, for the growth, for the prosperity of all these countries.